I believe he's with us right now. We have Michael Vass, the great one. Michael, how are you, my friend? I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts, a lot going on.
Well, there's been a lot happening here, from Pelosi being over in Taiwan. Complete waste of time. Did it actually benefit the United States? Did it actually benefit anyone in the world? Probably not. Actually, probably made tensions worse and led the United States into a more difficult diplomatic situation. We have what's going on with Ron DeSantis down in Florida, where he's getting rid of a prosecutor because the prosecutor isn't following the law. And that should be pretty straightforward. But when you look at
every governor should be doing that.
Well, you would think they would, because it's the law. It's not your political ideology. It's not your preference. It's the law. And their job is to enforce that. But somehow the left is saying, well, no, this isn't about the law. It's about their feelings and their political ideology. Sorry, you lost. That's not what's on the books. That's not his job. So he's completely right to get rid of him and to fire him. But that's not just the end of it. Remember, we were talking about the Iran nuclear deal. We were talking about that on the last S&D 500 program, in case people had missed it. And I told you, it's not over. And as we find out today, the United States is working through our allies in the EU. They're trying to save this deal. And Iran is doing exactly what we would have expected it to do. They are trying to negotiate to get the most that they possibly can in a desperate Biden-Harris administration that have been looking for this deal to try and give them a win politically, are more than happy to have these conversations. It is troubling, to say the very least. It gets worse. Did you know that while we hear the Biden administration changing the definition of inflation, of recession, we're seeing that in the United Kingdom, well, they're predicting not only is it going to be a recession, not only is inflation going to be devastating, we're talking about double digits, which we will soon see in the United States, they're saying it's going to be long term. This is going to be an extended, deep recession. And if you think that the United Kingdom, Europe are in a recession and the United States won't be, you don't understand economics. But perhaps the thing that pisses me off the most is last night, I don't think anyone even heard about this. Last night, the New York Post puts out a factual, documented, detailed reveal that Kathy Hochul, the appointed governor of New York, has been flying across the entire state because of her campaign to try and get reelected. Now, the reason why the New York Post was talking about it is she spent $275,000 of taxpayer money to fly from New York to Albany to Binghamton to Rochester, across the entire state. We're talking a couple hundred flights on helicopters and planes on the taxpayer dime. That's bad enough. That is an abuse. But here's the thing, I looked at this. You know what's insulting? The Democrats. We heard Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, 2019, screaming, kids are dying. Kids in the South Bronx are dying because global warming and
climate change.
Yeah, and you heard Greta Thunberg this year, along with
How dare you?
Yeah, just a month ago, talking about it's not over. The global climate crisis is devastating. We've heard Joe Biden say he's had to spend billions of dollars increasing the inflation in the United States, devaluing our dollar, and he's spending billions. He wants to spend trillions on the number one threat to the world. Well, we just saw Kathy Hochul. She's been flying in jets. She's flown around so much, you would have to drive 1.9 million miles to be able to get to the same amount of global warming gases she's released because she's flying all over the place. You would have to plant 12,000 trees and let them grow for 10 years to offset the same amount of global greenhouse gases that Kathy Hochul has done in less than a year. And the left, who have been screaming at us about how global warming, climate change is the biggest thing, the biggest threat, that we have to destroy our economy, we have to destroy our ability to actually live our lives, they're giving her a pass. They won't even talk about this. There is zero chat. There are no protests. There's no conversation. Twitter has ignored it completely. But I thought global warming was the big deal. I thought climate change was our biggest threat. She is literally, according to AOC, killing Black kids, and they don't care. Makes you have to wonder, what do they really care about? What is really important? They don't care enough to even say, hey, Kathy, maybe you should plant a couple of trees. Just maybe that would be able to offset this. Give us some kind of excuse. They don't even care enough to even try and pretend to have an excuse. It's that kind of insulting dichotomy that I don't even know the mental gymnastics it takes to become a progressive today and to agree with all this stuff and allow them to actually do what they're telling everyone else you can't do. It's insulting. Hey, guys.
Michael, can we just admit it and just say it for what it is? And it's because it's the truth that the Republican Party is the party of love.
So if I'm not running around saying that the world is filled with rainbows and we're all going to ride unicorns, that somehow I'm an evil person. To say that I believe in America first, I believe in MAGA, and I'm happy to say I'm ultra MAGA because I want my country to be the greatest country in the world. I don't know anyone in any country that says that they don't want their country to be the greatest country in the world. I've said this many, many times. So somehow by saying I want America to be great because we have freedom more than any other country in the world, we have a higher quality of life than any other country in the world. And I know this is true, and it is an absolute fact because we have how many illegal aliens trying to enter the United States every month? 250,000. Show me another country that has numbers even close to that. We have how many illegal aliens in the United States right now? Somewhere between 11 to 22 million. Name another country that has anything even close to that. We invite more people in. We have people who are coming to the southern border, and Texas is being so nice. Rather than trying to kick them out, which we should legally be doing, we're sending them to Washington, D.C. and New York State. Why? Because Washington, D.C. and New York State have said they want to be an open border state. And now we have those states saying, oh, well, why are you doing this? This is so bad. You said invite them in. You said that we should have no borders. Fantastic. You take the people. You want the responsibility. And when we say, this is your responsibility, they suddenly go, well, no, but you have more capabilities because you're not wasting people's money. It is embarrassing to see these things. And I have to say, this is something that's coming from what's his name? Charles Payne, who's just put out a tweet saying that New York State, Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, is now suddenly balking and saying, no, stop sending these illegal aliens. Wait a minute, Eric Adams, you're the practical progressive, as he said after he got elected. You've been asking for this. Why are you upset? Why would you not want these illegal aliens? Because you said it's great for America. You wanted them. Well, here they are. I don't understand this. It just drives me nuts. And maybe you guys think of it in a different way. I don't know.
But I just want to respond quickly to, there was a lot said there, but I just want to respond quickly to Michael, and perhaps it ties into this. I think that as someone that views your political system from afar, or at least from above, maybe that places me in a different position. I would say that your Republican Party has failed you massively in the last decade, extraordinarily failed you. And it got to the point where it was such a failure that, and I'm talking about your rhinos, I'm talking about Lindsey Graham's, I'm talking about your war hawks, your neocons, the people that more importantly stood by and allowed Barack Obama to culturally annihilate a Christian republic, right?
Yeah.
Where were they in the last 10 years? So as far as I can see, it's not so much the Republican Party, it's the Donald Trump America First Party
Good evening, Rory, and the rest of the panel. A lot being said tonight. I just wanted to go a little further what Michael is saying about Democrats and this whole progressive movement. As you're probably well aware, Dr. Oz won our Senate primary here, and he's going to be going against a progressive named John Fetterman. And it's come out this week in the press, Rory, that this guy's never held a real job. This guy's favorite politician is Bernie Sanders. There's no way. Even Dr. Oz could beat somebody like John Fetterman with this progressive, Bernie-loving agenda. We've had enough of this progressive politics stuff. Like what Michael was saying, the Democrats destroyed. That's all they do.
California school district is spending $20,000 on woke kindergarten, which aims at disrupting whiteness. Wow. I mean, and this is going on all over the country. Michael, I'll start with you.
Well, are you surprised? Is it a shock for anyone? It's absolutely normal. I mean, this is what we have seen. This is the application of critical race theory, where they are teaching children that to be white is to be evil, to be black is to be a victim. These are your status for life. And the only one who can protect you and help you with this process are a couple of handful of elites that happen to be in government and have to be there forever. Are we shocked? No, we shouldn't be. We should be reversing this and destroying this. This is one of the most of our children, and it's targeting them because in 10 years, they won't know any different, and they will vote, and they will live in America with less freedom than we have today. Well, I'm not shocked by that at all.
All these top-notch universities need to recognize, that they're privileged because of their skin color. It's absurd. Go ahead, though.
Oh, you just got to have some balls. Like I tell people that if anyone ever tries this on me, I always address them front on. We stand up to the forces of wokeness. They melt away. It's just a shame to me that we aren't seeing more institutions doing it. Everyone is so scared of this, So they can keep, every time people don't do that, they take another step and another step. And now they're coming for our kids.
I didn't know if it could get to this level, but you know what? It's scary. Michael, go ahead.
Well, I just think that when we are looking at our nation at its core being destroyed by social experiments, and that's all this is. It's another social experiment where we have no gain in mind. This is creating more divisions. It's dividing America because we're turning people into check boxes. What happened with Martin Luther King, with Malcolm X, with Gandhi, with Mother Teresa, where we're individuals and we're coming together to not be colorblind, as opposed to, no, you're a checkbox and you have to be separate from everyone else. That's why we need safe spaces. That's why we need diversity training. That's why we have to target people based on their color of skin for every aspect of their lives, whether it's Ketanji Brown Jackson or whether it's the guy down at the local bodega. This is ridiculous. This is destructive. And we have to call it out for what it is. And people are afraid to speak up because they're going to be labeled with, you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're an ist, a phobe. You know what? Those words in that context, in that miscontext, only applies if we live by the fear of it. And we have to just give up the fear. And we have to call it out for what it is. People are good or bad because they're individuals, not because of the color of their skin, their sexual preference, their communication with other individuals. It should be pretty simple. Should be.
And it's all about power.
But Rory, and I think everyone in the panel will agree with me, it's because it's never enough. The only way
right, and that's what I'm saying. It will never be enough. It will never be. They'll always want more.
Unless they have complete control, which is why they're trying to change America, as the Democratic Socialists of America have stated, as BLM has published in its goals. We watch these groups. They tell us directly they want to remove the Constitution. They want to create an entirely different system that is based on ideology that benefits them alone. It's very clear and it's very direct. They will continue to whittle away all of our rights and freedoms and those around the world as a consequence because they want power. And they've told us that direct to our face. It's insane that we allow them to do that.
CNN making drastic cuts. It was just reported their profits have plunged below $1 billion. Ratings have tanked, and their brand is just tarnished at this point. And I'm wondering, there's always been rumor and speculation that CNN might be bought out. Michael, I'll start with you. Do you think there's a good chance that they're going to revamp the entire thing, get new ownership, clean house? Thoughts?
Well, how can I say this? They have no credibility. They've lost their credibility because of the actions that they have done. They are a political wing of a progressive movement. And they've been very clear on that in their programming, in their statements. So, yes, you could try and sell them, but who wants CNN? A station that no one trusts, that people aren't watching because they have no credibility. Quite honestly, what would probably happen is someone would buy the shell, scrap it, start all over from the beginning with a brand new name and a brand new model. Basically, they're going to buy it for its book value, take all of the equipment and run with that. But CNN is on its last days, and we shouldn't be upset about that. One, that's free market. Two, that's improving our news media. You know, when things don't work, it's not incumbent on us to try and save them and keep them going forward, kind of like what we saw under the Obama administration when he bailed out the auto industry with the GM shares. The American people lost money on that. It didn't help anyone, and we still have the same problems in the auto industry. It wasn't improved. The same thing we're seeing here. If they're failing because they have failed to live up to their requirements as a news media company. They have failed in attracting viewers. Let them die, and let's get something else better in its place. I don't care what it is. Let's move forward. I think that's the best way.
Nick, I'll go to you.
Yeah, look, I agree. But, you know, look at when they did the best CNN, right? It was when Trump was president.
Yeah.
Ratings have never been better. I don't have a lot to add to this, but just as someone who was a viewer, when did they, I guess my question to you guys is, when did they start to become more like a propagandist arm?
Second term of Obama.
Right.
When they started switching, when I started noticing that they became more propaganda is as Obama shifted from, I can't change immigration law in the United States as a constitutional scholar, and then suddenly said, oh, DACA, here it is, I'm going to do it by executive order. When we started seeing him switch to say, well, we're going to make the Iran nuclear deal and it's going to be funding terrorism, as admitted by then Secretary John Kerry, and the news media said, well, that's okay, don't talk about that. We have, it's a good deal, it's history making. When we started seeing those transitions, 2015, when Obama decided to have BLM come to the White House, even though they were critical in creating early riots and attacks against police officers, and we had the beer summit. Well, that's the path that they went step by step and went further and further, and they jumped off the cliff when they decided to say, okay, Russia collusion was real with no evidence, pushed it for the American people day in and day out, and then got proven to be completely wrong because they didn't do their homework.
So this was an alignment at that stage with Obama, between an alignment of political interests.
Once upon a time, CNN actually had conservatives on their panel. I don't know if you guys remember that. I mean, I know it's been a couple of years, but once upon a time they did have that. Now, once Donald Trump won in 2016, TDS overwhelmed CNN, MSNBC, and others.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at what's going on with CNN and you ask yourself, are these people even intelligent? Because, and I'm not even disagreeing with their substance. All I'm really saying is, why would you, if I ran a business in Alabama, I don't think I put a sign out front that says, Crimson Tide fans are not welcome here. Don't come in, because it'd be bad business. I'm trying to figure out, in a nation that's roughly equally divided, is it really a good business to basically say we're simply going to vilify regular, average, everyday Americans who believe in the Constitution, who believe in hard work, personal responsibility, all these things that used to be normal, and act like there's somehow what's wrong with America? And the funny thing is, it's none of that has anything to do with race.
Look at the coverage about Griner. She committed a crime in a foreign country. The White House today came out and said, oh, this is unlawful. You have to release her. No, they don't. She committed a crime in Russia, and she has been found guilty with 9 years.
9 years. I love it. The anthem kneeler, the person that hated America. Now she really knows what communism, feels like, and how great America was, and how she wishes that she was here.
She knows the difference between what is the freedom that Americans get on a regular basis and the degree to the freedom that you have to be able to live your life, as opposed to another nation, any other nation, but especially one of the socialist nations that decide that no, you don't have those freedoms because they have a different sense of what are human rights as opposed to God-given rights. But to bring it back to what we're talking about.
And I want to say something else about Griner. People say, well, it was just a little cannabis. That's not the point. She was in another country. She broke their rules. She has to pay the price, just like anybody would.
It doesn't matter how much it was. She knew the law and broke the law, so she's getting punished by the law. I don't want to see her again. I don't hear about her for 9 years. She's guilty. Done. This is not worth talking about because she's a criminal. Done.
Now, are they going to make a big deal out of this? The Biden administration, are they going to treat her as like a martyr, and they're going to try to go get her, and they're going to try to put her as a hero, and they're going to do diplomatic bullshit? Do you really think it's going to come to this?
They already are. Like I said, the White House put out a press release today saying that she's being unlawfully detained and punished. I'm sorry, she broke the law. Looking at the Breonna Taylor thing, it's the same thing. We're watching the news media take information out of context. Most people don't realize that Britney she went out there, Britney Griner went into Russia and actively broke their laws, especially in particular dealing with drugs, and that she is a criminal and that she has been properly prosecuted by the law. She doesn't deny that she brought in the drugs. She just says, well, in America, I could use them and it shouldn't be a big deal. Sorry, that doesn't work. That's not a defense. She's guilty. She admitted it. She's a criminal. But the media, like with Breonna Taylor, are looking at this and saying, no. Look at it from this progressive political lens that excuses people and punishes people for doing what the law allows and the process that is legal. They want to go and they're abusing the system and dividing people on purpose so that they can have a political gain. That's what I see.
It's obvious the Democrats don't care about law and order. We saw that in the summer of 2020. And like what Michael was talking, I've been overseas too. You've got to abide by the country's laws. People might think, oh, it's just a little cannabis oil or whatever she brought in. It doesn't matter. If it's their law, you've got to abide by it. I mean, 9 years is a pretty hefty sentence. I don't know if she'll do 9 years, but let's just see what the feckless Biden regime does.
I bet you when she gets back to America, maybe the anthem won't be so offensive to her. And then two, I would say she has this one unfortunate thing going on, which maybe her agent should have told her this, and that is, when Russia's about to invade Ukraine, which is all the papers, you might not, as an American, want to go travel over there because they're going to find, I'm not saying she didn't have drugs on her. I'm just saying, but they will look for whatever they can because what they want to do is use her as a chip. And so I think that's why she got 9 years, because that makes her more valuable as a chip. If they just said, okay, it's a $500 fine, don't do it anymore, then, there's no chip there to swap with. And so I think part of all of this is it's all, if you will, jockeying by the Putin team to put themselves in a better negotiating position to get more chips back that they would like. Because I find it hard to believe my understanding is she was caught with 0.7 of a gram. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, and we're going to trade a guy who was an international gun runner.
Right.
And why is that possible? Because they're going to give her 9 years if we don't, kind of thing. So I think part of it is this kind of, the world just has to understand that Russia and Putin and these totalitarian regimes are hellholes.
But what I think? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. I think the reason why this is even happening isn't even Ukraine. It's because we're looking at Joe Biden. He is so weak and so desperate for a win for the elections that everyone in the world is taking advantage at every step and going, oh, you want to win?
Like a fire sale.
Yeah, getting her back. You're right, George. I think you're right.
I agree with you. It's a fire sale. The weakness is the problem. And I would argue that in China, with Taiwan and the provocations that have occurred there, all of this is, I guarantee you that if the Speaker of the House, even if it were Nancy Pelosi, were visiting and Donald Trump were president, they wouldn't be shooting missiles. So you're exactly right. All of this is about weakness. Peace through strength works. Peace through whatever it is they're trying is clearly not working.
Fact of the matter is that these gentlemen are all right about Joe Biden's leadership. And when you have a vacuum, and the military is the same way, when you have a feckless leader, even in an army organization, we don't follow those leaders. We follow the people that know what they're doing. And so the world is looking for leadership. They're not finding it in the U.S. And that stunt Nancy Pelosi pulled, and I've been saying this all day today, the fact of the matter is there's no plan. What is she doing over there? What's the strategy? There's no end game for this. In the military and the army, we always talk about what's our end game? What is our goal here? There is no goal.
And at every single aspect, it always comes back to the same thing. We've been talking about this, I think, collectively and individually. We've been mentioning this in so many different ways. At every point, it is because there is no leadership. There is no plan domestically or internationally. We don't have a plan for our borders or immigration. We have nothing because the plan at this moment, as detailed in July by Hillary Clinton, is win the election at all costs. That has been the plan since January 21st and 2021. Their only plan is win the election, maintain power. They have no clear plan. They're about to spend $300 billion on trying to lower inflation when one of the key reasons why inflation is going up is because they spent money we don't have. And now interest rates are even higher, so it's going to make it even more inflationary. Is this a plan? No. This is a stupid reaction that looks really good in a headline because most people, when they hear math, drone out. And so they hope they'll get some votes from this before it devastates more jobs and hurts more Americans. This is stupid. At the core of all of this, no leadership leads to less peace in the world, and it destabilizes government, like in Sri Lanka, like in Panama right now, like in a third of Africa at this moment, and it's only about to get worse.
Well, what Michael was saying is absolutely correct. Well, Elon Musk talks about his future plans. He wants to populate the galaxy, and he wants to go out in space, and he wants to, advance technology, and he wants robotics and AI, and he's got a technological plan. The Democrats have no plan whatsoever. They couldn't come up with a plan to save their life. And so I think in this upcoming election cycle, now, I know that a lot of Americans are very sharp, and there's some who are not very sharp, as we have all noted. So they're going to vote. I've actually heard people say this. They're going to vote for the Democrat, even if Bugs Bunny was becoming the president. They don't care who it is. If he's Democrat or she's Democrat, we're going to vote for them no matter what. So we have a population out there that is suspect. And the Democrats are leading this population all the way down the primrose path to, what's going to happen? If it continues as it is, Mike, I agree with you, it's going to happen. We're going to have a depression that makes 1929 look like a Sunday school picnic. We got to be very careful here Sound the alarm bells now before it's too late. We cannot reverse